5 juni 1967 startte Israël de bezetting van de Palestijnse gebieden. De westelijke Jordaanoever, Oost-Jeruzalem en de Gazastrook. De Verenigde Naties hebben Israël onmiddellijk opgeroepen om zich terug te trekken uit de bezette Palestijnse gebieden, maar Israël heeft dat altijd geweigerd. Het is begonnen met de bouw van Israëlische nederzettingen, het confiskeert steeds meer Palestijns land en recent is het ook begonnen met de bouw van een muur. Het scheidt de Gazastrook en de westelijke Jordaanoever van elkaar, waardoor een Palestijnse staat op vrij korte termijn onmogelijk zal worden. Daarom roepen wij als Broederlijk Delen samen met Israëlische en Palestijnse partnerorganisaties op om de bezetting te eindigen. 50 jaar na datum is deze situatie onhoudbaar. Wij ondersteunen partners op het terrein, Israëlische en Palestijnse organisaties die werken aan verandering en die ook solidariteit nodig hebben, want hun stem wordt te weinig gehoord en zij maken een andere toekomst voor de regio mogelijk.
Un plan de colonisation progressif de la Cisjordanie, voire de la bande de Gaza et du Sinaï, du plateau du Golan, s'est mis en route. Un plan qui était préparé d'avance, un plan tiroir. En tout état de cause, ce plan est mis en œuvre et les premières colonies apparaissent dès un an après le début de l'occupation. Le plan se peaufine, le plan s'affirme. C'était d'abord le plan Alon, ça devient le plan Sharon, et que nous vivons encore aujourd'hui. Ce plan Sharon qui est celui de l'extension graduelle, progressive, avec le facteur temps de la frontière israélienne vers l'Est.
When it came to East Jerusalem, they had a very decisive move that happened very shortly after the occupation, which was to demarcate a particular line that encompassed, virtually anything that happened south of Ramallah and north of Bethlehem, call it East Jerusalem, and annex it to Israel. The way the Israeli government annexed East Jerusalem, basically applied Israeli law to an area that's occupied, it was quite devious. They did it through under the radar. They didn't want the entire international community to be on their case. Of course, this annexation is not legal under international law. The international community doesn't accept it. But according to Israeli law, areas that were annexed to Jerusalem in 1967 are just the same as any other part of Israel's sovereign territory, which means that the locations, the areas and the Palestinians that live in them have a different status, as far as we're concerned, than Palestinians in the West Bank. Following the annexation, the Israeli government also gave the Palestinian population of East Jerusalem a certain status. They have blue ID cards. They're not exactly like a real citizenship, their residency status, and it can be revoked, but it provides certain protections, like, for example, receiving the right to travel throughout Israel, to live and work anywhere in Israel, to get health insurance, to get national insurance, etc. But of course, as I said, Palestinians in East Jerusalem also risk having their residency revoked by the authorities, and they've done quite a lot of it. So the authorities revoked the residency of thousands of Palestinians since 1967. In terms of the lives of the Palestinians living in East Jerusalem, you see that they're totally discriminated against on every level.
Punchline would be maximum land, minimum Arabs in the land. This is what Israeli politics is actually all about. Taking as much as possible of land, allocating to the Israeli Jewish collective, and pushing Palestinian Arab collective into certain enclaves in order to minimize the amount of land which is available for the Arab Palestinian collective uses. That's eventually the story that's behind the whole settlement enterprise. For example, the settlement which we stand now next to, Ma'ale Adumim, is a settlement which is a few kilometers away from Jerusalem, east, was established in the mid-70s. This settlement specifically was established after Israel had confiscated, simply as that, confiscated an area of about 28,000 dunams in 1976. Land which belong to several Palestinian communities around Abu Dis, Azariya, Isawiya, Anata, different communities which used to have land in this area. The land was officially confiscated by the Israeli authorities. The official excuse for this confiscation was an industrial park, an occupational area which Israel established a few kilometers away from here, where we stand. And then once this tiny industrial park was inaugurated, the huge settlement of Ma'ale Adumim, which is much bigger than the industrial zone, industrial park, was built. Ma'ale Adumim today is actually, in terms of population, the third biggest populated settlement in the West Bank. There are about 40,000 Israeli settlers who live here. De facto, it's nothing else than a suburb of Jerusalem.
The city of Hebron is an important city because, first of all, it's the second largest city in the West Bank. About 200,000 Palestinians live over here. But it's also a very special city because in the middle of it, there is an Israeli settlement. It's the only Israeli settlement that is located in the middle of a Palestinian city. And the Israeli settlement it's around the tomb of the Patriarch. The tomb of the Patriarch, it's a very holy place for the Jewish religion, and it's also a very holy place for the Muslim religion. That's why the city of Hebron is a very religious city. And the tour that we did over here is to understand exactly that. The framework of why we have here so many settlers and settlements, and why we have so many soldiers guarding on those settlers over here.
This land is really big and full of all of the trees. For Laji Center have like that big center in the building, we used like to play in this land. They used to like to do activities in this land. So it was like really interesting, like to have a place to play. It was really like something really great, like to feel yourself like you're free. You have like this big land, you can run, you can jump, you can play as we were children. And I remember in 2004, it was the last time I've entered this land. They were starting building this wall, but we have like a sort of a place like we can enter the land. I went with a friend of mine and my dad. She wanted to take photos of us for the last time in this land. So we entered this. I started like jumping on the trees, running, and starting like this is, I have like to follow my time of this land. Like, this is the last time I'll be in this land. So I have like to do everything. I have to feel my freedom for the last time and before they close it up. Women are at the front lines of confronting this occupation and dealing with it for two reasons. First of all, Palestinian women have a lot of internal issues they have to deal with. There's a lot of discrimination against them, and sometimes in the law, sometimes in some cases in the society. There's also violence against women in the society, like everywhere else in the world, and they have to deal with these issues. And on top of all of this, they also have to deal with serious human rights violations that are as a result of nearly 50 years of occupation. Women living in villages next door to settlements are the ones who have the most difficult issues to deal with. First of all, the construction of settlements on land that belongs to the village has affected these families very negatively. The economic value, the economic impact is quite harsh. There's also a lot of lack of freedom of movement. These villagers living there, especially women, especially if they are in villages next to the wall, they cannot move freely. They cannot go from one place to another freely. They cannot go to school or to work. So what we do in the organization is we collect about 150 testimonies from Palestinian women all over the West Bank, even from Gaza. We turn them into short stories that are easy to read, and then we analyze the evidence we collect, and we write reports. We present them to visiting delegations who come to the country and want to educate themselves about the occupation. We also sometimes travel abroad and we give lectures and presentations. We give reports to the United Nations, which we hope will be helpful to Palestinians. We write reports, we post them on the website. This conflict and this occupation is about taking land without the people. And in order to do that, you have to implement policies that affect everyone, and you have to do it relentlessly every day of the week, every week of the month. And you don't want the rest of the world to know about it. So our job is to basically educate and to make these practices known to the outside world, because really bad things happen in the dark, and what we do is we try to shed light on these policies and practices so that hopefully one day occupation will end and Palestinians will be able to live like everybody else in freedom and security.
Veel mensen vinden het een zeer vreemde combinatie, circus en Palestina. Voor ons is het eigenlijk een evidentie. In de Palestijnse gebieden is als kind opgroeien een zeer grote uitdaging. Het is niet zo dat kinderen hier een leven van een leien dakje hebben, zoals bij ons in het Westen meer het geval is. Kinderen hebben hier eigenlijk vanaf ze geboren zijn te maken met heel zware uitdagingen, waar geweld een van de grote uitdagingen is. En dat speelt zich af op allerlei verschillende niveaus, fysiek geweld, institutioneel geweld. Maar ook gewoon alle andere effecten die dat een bezetting meebrengt. Het hele aspect van vernedering, de constante onzekerheid over het leven, de constante onzekerheid over de toekomst. Dus het is eigenlijk zeer moeilijk voor een kind om hier op te groeien en om veel positieve referenties te hebben om zijn eigen identiteit mee op te bouwen.